Welcome to the Better Together podcast. I have my dear friend and brother, Pastor Steve Rose, with us today. We're going to be talking about leading a board meeting 101. But welcome, Pastor Steve.
Thank you. I am so privileged to be here today.
We are honored to have you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for coming over from Muskogee.
Yeah.
And I still remember when I first met you. It's been a few years ago, Pastor Steve. In another life,
Yes.
Dr. Rose was the DYD of Kansas.
Yeah.
Back in the Tom Green era.
Oh, he and I were close friends.
And you were. And Tom had invited you to an Oklahoma discipleship camp.
Yes.
And I was a student. And I still remember we did the services in the dining center because of the weather. And
we did.
And God, it was one of those impacting times. God just really came down and moved.
Yeah. I would go in the closet of that place and pray. And we'd come out and we'd have Jesus.
We had Jesus.
It was Jesus.
It was a moving time.
Yeah.
And then you and Kelly Goins would go off and talk keyboards.
Yes. He is something else.
Hey, tell us, how long have you been pastor of the great M1A?
I have been there 35 years. Never planned it. Never thought that would be, I thought maybe 10 years and I'll go somewhere else in 10 years. But one day I woke up and I was there that long.
It's amazing. And
Yeah.
what a track record of incredible mission trips, your facilities. You're the only church in our network that has a carousel in the children's area. I've ridden the carousel.
I ride it all the time. Yeah, it's really, God has been good. I have been privileged to be there. I'm the one that has been honored.
Well, it's been amazing to watch, and you've produced so many great ministers from your ministry. What would you? This is not our topic today, but how important would you say longevity is in ministry?
It is really, really important, and it goes hand in hand with what we're going to talk about today: building teams, building consensus, board members.
Yes,
no strife.
Yeah,
I kind of have a rule that we're always looking toward the future. Always. I think churches get in trouble, bad trouble, when they do not have a project.
So true, because there's aimlessness.
Yeah. So we've had 6 major building programs.
6.
The church has doubled in its footprint, the space. And we're paying for that now with 35 air conditioners that somehow don't want to work at times. But it's always forward looking. And so I never let them set. I never let the board set. It's always about vision.
Yeah, that's so important. Our topic today is leading effective board meetings. I had the privilege of being on boards with you, Pastor Steve. And so we've been on that side of the table. In fact, you and I got assigned. I remember late in a hotel, you and I are hammering out new constitution and bylaws and policies. And so it's been a joy to see you in action in the board setting. But what would you say to pastors? What are some keys to leading? I remember going in, you and I talked about it just briefly a minute ago. I was clueless on how to lead an effective board meeting. What would be some of the keys you would share?
Well, I have pastored a very small church in Kansas that started at 90. It ended at 150, but it was very rural. It was called Liberal Kansas, just like
the right word is.
It was not a place you would want to go. And
unless God called you.
Oh, well, God did call me, and that's a whole story too. But the mentality of the way they thought, I learned a whole lot in the 3 years that I was there. I learned amazing things about how to treat people, how to honor people. And then after that, I went 9 years into district, and then I went to Muskogee. But I would say that no class will ever teach you how to do a board meeting.
I didn't get a class.
No,
yeah, right.
There is not such a thing. Yeah. But let me tell you a little bit. Muskogee is a little different. We do not have a rotating board. We have a board that each member serves 3 years. There are 6 of them, including the secretary-treasurer. So every 2 years, we have nominations that are done 2 weeks prior to the meeting. And that solves a lot of my board problems because in that week, from a Sunday to Sunday, a nomination process happens. And then the board members that are not running on that particular year, they go ahead and they vet the ones that are nominated.
That vetting is so important.
Well, it
Yeah.
is, especially being full of
And
the
it's
Spirit.
biblical. It's biblical.
Well, Acts 6 is our model.
Yes.
Even though that is not board members,
Right.
I don't believe there is any church government structure in the New Testament.
God left it open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was apostolic in nature.
I agree.
But Acts 6, full of the Spirit, full of faith, full of wisdom. Those are indisputable ingredients that have to be among any leadership team. So back to Muskogee, in that 1 week, this saves embarrassment for somebody being nominated, at the business meeting. Say they're not filled with the Spirit. Say they're not paying their tithes.
Right.
Well, these guys talk to them, not me. And so usually by the time the meeting happens, you have really good people.
Yes.
You have really good people running.
And you do save some possible humiliation of
totally
an open air meeting of disqualifications.
Yeah. So it starts with that. It starts with a structure. Interesting enough, when I went to Muskogee, it was a church fighting. Other than Jim King was there 2 years before that. They were not fighting during Jim King, but before that, the church had split. A bunch of junk had went on. And so they didn't have business meetings. Jim said, we're not coming together and fight. And he was right. But when I came, I really felt strongly we're a corporation. We've got to have business meetings. So we wrote up a constitution based off of the district one at that time, but putting these ingredients in for board members that ensured success. And we submitted it to the district. They approved it. And we have modified it at times.
Sure.
But the success of a board working together comes from that constitution.
And one of the keys is from that vetting process.
Yes.
That if you get someone that's not qualified to serve, that can be a disaster.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe strongly. I love board meetings, first of all.
But say that again. I don't hear that often.
I love board meetings.
I actually did too. I enjoyed them.
I absolutely love them. Yeah. And there's one reason why. Well, there's several reasons why. I do not believe in bringing church problems to a board meeting. Now, if it's big, you got to,
And deal with it, sure.
Yeah, there's huge things that you have to. But our board meetings at M1A, Muskogee First Assembly, are positive in nature. They're always vision oriented. They're not about, I would just imagine somebody in the congregation that was messing up. Well, small churches will bring that stuff into a board meeting. Imagine you were that person in the congregation and suddenly now you're the subject of a board meeting.
And then they find out they're the subject. Yes,
they're going to find out.
They're going to find out.
So I never, ever, ever, ever deal with those kind of. I deal with them one-on-one with the people.
So you're saying that there are situations that are pastoral that
Yes.
you will deal pastorally.
Yes.
That are not board agenda items that could be explosive, or it could end up in someone getting so hurt that they leave.
They're going to leave.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I never bring them up. Never is it negative. The board meetings are around, well, like right now, we need a new sound system. It's going to be hundreds of thousands. I mean, you just have to have it. So it's always.
I can't wait to use it.
I can't either. Oh, let's see what we have now. But it's always about vision.
Yes.
It's always about where we're going. So if you take 35 years of vision, and these guys knowing they're going to get to come to a meeting that's fun, it's positive. We take vision trips together.
As a board?
Oh, yeah. We'll go look at other churches.
So good.
We'll go, like we're getting ready to, they don't know it yet, but we're getting ready to visit churches that have great sound systems.
Nice.
And what that does is broaden their faith. It gets them excited about what can be. We don't have any money to buy a sound system. but we have gone through 6 major building programs. And every one of those building programs have been with, I got to tell you this, we don't call them board members. We call them our vision team because that's what they do.
Terminology is important.
Yeah, they're not the typical board. They are the vision team.
But they would serve in the official role as the board members of your 501c3. But your terminology gives them purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they come together excited. What are we going to do? What's our next thing that we're going to do? Now, let me talk about negatives because this is real. This might help some preacher out there. So we don't allow them to talk negative about somebody in the congregation. I'm going to handle that stuff.
That's so wise.
Yeah,
wise.
I'm going to deal with that one-on-one. They can get mad at me, but at least we've not taken it to a bigger degree. Okay, what if somebody is talking about me?
The pastor.
That happens.
In a church?
That happens.
I'm shocked.
I know. I just wanted to give you something new here. So here's what I teach them. And I teach them, I've taught this 35 years. When you have somebody come to you and say, the sound system's too loud. Why is this sound system doing this? This pastor does, on and on, ripping on me. They are trained to say these very words. You know what you just said right now is significant. It's so significant that the pastor would like to hear about it. Take my hand right now. We're going to him. And he wants to know how you feel about that.
Which is Matthew 18.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
But what happens is that doesn't make the board members talk among each other.
Right.
And start
create awkward moments.
Yeah, back there. No, they are taught that I want to know. I'm not afraid of criticism.
Sure.
I'm not afraid to be wrong. Say I did something. Maybe it said something offhanded to someone and they talk about that. I want to be the first to apologize to that person.
Of course. Yeah.
I want to be the very first one to get it right. So what it has done is develop a real solid church financially and dynamically. It has built a bunch of people that, another thing about the negative thing, you never talk negative about your board.
As the leader, as the pastor,
ever.
Right?
Unless you're talking to your wife.
That's the outlet.
But you don't go to another board member and say, I can't believe you said that at the board meeting. And because you want them to be loyal to you, so you've got to be loyal to them.
And do you agree that it always somehow gets back to them anyway? They're gonna hear it. Yes.
So you're building a culture that is positive. You're building teamwork. I was told this by a man by the name of John Guthrie when the church was real small. Believe it or not, that building seats 1,000. We're still not filled. But you just got to imagine it when there was maybe 90 people there, 100 people there.
In that big space.
Yeah, big space. And so he told me this. They were interviewing me and they said, we're going to make you a deal. If you will pray, I mean, really pray, Pastor, and find God's will, we will follow you to a man. And he said it over and over. He didn't say it one time. If you will pray, if you'll get on your face and know God's will for this body, we'll follow you to a man. Okay, so what that did was put the pressure off of them and put it on me.
Absolutely. That's the spirituality of it. Yes.
Now you and I come from a CBC culture. A CBC culture is rooted in prayer.
It was everything, classroom, chapel,
yes.
And we even prayed over the cafeteria food.
We did.
We had to. I worked there.
We all believed in missions.
Yes, that's right.
Because we were praying for a lost world.
That's right, exactly. CMF.
So that prayer, again, I handle staff different. I don't have portfolios for my staff. I don't have staff. I know you're supposed to, but I don't. I pick talented people and then build the jobs around their talents.
Around their gifts.
But there's one number one rule, and Jason Fullerton will tell you this. TJ will tell you this. Any of the guys, the 40-some people that have come out of ministry.
It's amazing. It's amazing testimony.
They'll tell you this. The moment you get to that church, you pray an hour. There is nothing else you do. You pray. And you have a tablet, and you tell, what was God telling you today? Well, the board...
That changes the atmosphere.
Oh, we're all kind to each other.
Right.
We're sweet. We get rid of the trying to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
But what this did as a pastor, it put the pressure on me, having a prayer culture, that I had to pray through vision. I had to pray through what we were going to do. Okay, so once I would pray that through and know what God wanted us to do, then I would approach the board. And then never do you say, God told me this. God did tell me this.
Yeah.
But you don't do that.
Yeah. Can you just say that again? Say that again, because everybody needs to hear that.
Yeah. After I prayed it through, and I'm talking about months.
Yeah.
About a way we're going to go. Like we built this amazing kids building. That was months of prayer before it ever happened. But so once I get where I feel about that, I will set them down and I will say, I just feel we ought to look at this. I think this, and so I'll get them talking. And the whole thing is keeping the meeting positive. It's keeping it around the future, and it's building consensus. Now, I'm going to tell you something that is not possible everywhere, but we never do anything unless there's 100% vote. On
your vision team, your deacons, board members, 100%.
It never do anything because here's why. Say we're going to build a kids building, and the Lord spoke to me about this, and I'll drop it out there. There's always going to be something that somebody thinks we ought to do something different. That's great. Let's get that out. Let's talk about it. Let's get it right on the table. Then let's take a trip or two and see some other churches.
Which is what you're doing right now with your sound equipment.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. Let them see that the cost factors are in line because other people paid this, that this sounds like this. Well, what happens, you don't make quick decisions. You let this thing go until about 3 months' time, 4 months' time, everyone is on board. Then I set back and take what God has prayed, what I've prayed through about, and then they make it way better product. They'll go, hey, Pastor, I think we ought to do this. And I'll go, hey, that is absolutely cool.
And that gives them time to digest because I found I'm thinking about church and ministry 24/7. I mean, up at night, I'm in no matter, I'm thinking about this. But that vision team, your deacons, whoever it might be, they have other lives.
Yes, they do.
And they may not be taking it as quickly as we digest it, but you've given them time to process, to get on board, and to even make it better.
It's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have all the ideas. I believe God gives a vision to do something, but then we bring positive people around us and make a way better product. And by that time, they've bought into it. So then when we bring it to the church, they're the main spokesman for it.
And they're 100% bought in.
Always.
And there's something about even being able to say the vision team is unanimous. There's some kind of gravitas that happens when you can present that.
I don't like negative. Do you like negative?
I don't do negative.
You have one board member's not for something.
Right. And their face shows it or their body language.
Let's talk about it another month.
Yeah, sure.
Let's don't hurt each other.
Yeah.
Let's have fun. So anyway.
This is so good, Dr. Steve. I'd like to come back and talk about some more specifics in part 2 if we can. But right now I've picked up some keys that I think will help our ministers and leaders. One key for successful leading of these board meetings is have a vetting process, because getting the right people into the meetings is very key. So have a vetting process, eliminate the negative, that happens with it's about me or it's about what I want. Be visionary, which is positive. But what I really, my takeaway is that prayerful atmosphere that you've developed. Because if your vision team, deacon team, elders, whoever it might be, sees the pastor and the team praying, that earns this spiritual
Yes.
trust that they're going to at least listen.
Yeah.
But then you go into it implementing 100%. That's absolutely gold, Pastor Steve. This is so insightful, and I think my dear brother and friend, in fact, Dr. Steve was the first person to encourage me. He called me and said, "You need to do your doctoral work." And so there were times when I wanted to come and punch you, but thank you. You were the inspiration.
Changed your life, didn't it?
Absolutely. Spiritual surgery. But so we're going to come back and do some practical. So be sure and tune into part 2 of this episode. But until then, we are better together.